Hi, everyone. Welcome to our channel. Douglas Macgregor stated that while the accuracy of the reports is uncertain, he believes there is likely a significant amount of truth in them. He expressed skepticism about casualty reports from Israel and noted the echoed findings from Amnesty International and other agencies. Macgregor emphasized the deadly impact of dropping 2,000 lb bombs in urban areas, regardless of their precision, and suggested that recent actions reflect a vengeful campaign leading to casualties. He suggested that since October 7, there has been a campaign fueled by vengeance, which he described as an emotional response leading to radicalization. He argued that this mindset results in a lack of caution regarding civilian casualties. Emotions are still running high, but he noted the positive aspect of a 3-day ceasefire extension, providing a temporary relief. Reflecting on historical examples like the ceasefire during the First World War, he expressed uncertainty about whether similar goodwill could be fostered between Israel-Palestine, but stressed the importance of halting violence to prompt leaders to consider alternatives. He expressed Putin's perspective on the conflict in Ukraine, viewing it as a tragedy due to the cultural and historical ties between Russia and Ukraine. He noted that Putin has been criticized despite his attempts to be cautious, particularly by those advocating for actions against Gaza. He highlighted a perceived bias against Muslim Arabs in American media and discussed the strained relationship between the U.S. and Israel under the presidency of the unnamed leader. Drawing parallels to the Balkans, he described the deep-seated divisions between the peoples involved in the conflict. He emphasized the difficulty in reconciling these differences and suggested that while a ceasefire is crucial, a resolution is unlikely in the near future. He believes that the region is heading towards a regional war with a ceasefire likely to only provide temporary pauses. He predicts a shift from proxy conflicts to direct nation-state confrontations, particularly involving Israel. He suggests that the EU lacks a coherent strategy and may not survive due to internal contradictions. He anticipates a change in leadership away from the globalist elite in Western Europe and the United States, with efforts to maintain stability in the region likely to be less effective in the future. He believes that leaders like General Sisi of Egypt understand that accepting bribes to relocate Palestinian Arabs would lead to their removal from power. He suggests that elites in Arab states are compelled to support Palestinians due to internal pressures. He highlights the involvement of Iran and Turkey, noting Iran's desire to avoid war but maintain leadership in the Muslim world. He mentions an upcoming humanitarian aid flotilla as a test for both the U.S. and Israel, particularly regarding potential clashes at Israeli ports. He questions the effectiveness of blocking ships from entering Israeli ports and speculates on potential reactions from naval forces in the region. He sees this situation as a significant test for both Israeli and American leadership. He acknowledges the mix-up between Boris Yeltsin and Boris Johnson, likening them as world-class blowhards, with Yeltsin perhaps being more sincere. Privately, he believes that those within NATO, especially in Europe, but increasingly in Canada and the U.S., have recognized the futility of the situation. He suggests that Zelensky has been urged to pursue a negotiated settlement, which he deems a near impossible task. He criticizes NATO's leadership, particularly Stoltenberg, for blindly following Washington's directives and now facing the consequences. He argues that NATO is falling apart and questions its purpose if it cannot confront Russia in Ukraine. He personally never saw NATO as a tool for waging war against Russia and Ukraine, but acknowledges that this was the prevailing view in Washington, which he believes has led to NATO's failure in this context and possibly its demise. He views the destruction of the Ukrainian nation and people as a tragic outcome with uncertain prospects for recovery. He questions whether Ukraine can overcome this devastation, drawing parallels to previous challenges the country has faced. He believes that NATO's survival is doubtful, attributing this to what he sees as NATO's role in leading Ukraine towards its demise. He criticizes the immediate dismissal of skeptics and accuses them of being labeled as agents of Putin or anti-Semitic for questioning policies. He argues that U.S. policies have damaged its influence in Europe and the Middle East by oversimplifying complex issues. He sees this as a reflection of a broader failure in U.S. foreign and suggests a need for reevaluation and a shift away from interventionist approaches. He believes that despite the evident failures, public figures are reluctant to acknowledge mistakes, indicating a deeper systemic issue. He expresses uncertainty about his accuracy regarding the situation with Attica and acknowledges his limited command of Slavic languages. He discusses ongoing talks about a potential mass surrender of Ukrainian forces to the Russians, which he believes will mark the end of resistance. He suggests that Illusionary understands this reality and has signaled readiness to come to terms with it, contrasting this with calls for his removal by figures like Zelensky. He compares Zelensky's fate to that of Mussolini, suggesting that his departure might be in his best interest, given the region's history. He criticizes Zelensky for what he perceives as a shift from a peace platform to supporting war, predicting that Zelensky will face accountability for his actions. He expresses doubt about the effectiveness of solutioning and suggests that it may still garner some respect from certain individuals. He observes that when someone has been in charge for a significant period, questions inevitably arise. He draws a parallel to historical events, specifically the loyalty declaration to Hitler after the fall of Stalingrad, questioning the actions of the generals. He predicts that Ukrainians will begin to question the leadership of their generals in a similar manner. He references General Coyote's remarks in an interview, highlighting the importance of training and cooperation across different military branches for effective joint warfare or integrated combat operations. He notes the time and effort required to develop such capabilities and emphasizes the need for institutional memory to ensure effectiveness in battle. He criticizes the American focus on technology as a solution to military challenges, arguing that it doesn't address all issues. He expresses concern that the limitations of technology will become evident in conflicts like the one in Ukraine and potentially in the Middle East as well.